My name is Terry Kern.
Good afternoon. My name is Steve Zink.
Hi, my name is Blake Limcool. I'm 18.
Okay, my name's Terry Cheney.
I'm a survivor of a boating accident.
I was head injured almost 40 years ago, shot in the head, and a lot better today than what I was 40 years ago.
Both my carotid arteries were compromised as a result of a traumatic accident. So I had like 6 to 8 strokes, which caused decreased blood flow to the brain. So my brain was deprived of blood for a couple days.
My brain injury occurred in 2014. I was on a construction project in northern Michigan in August, and the wind blew. The car door I was renting hit me in the head, knocked me down, and I had a slow bleed over 5 weeks.
A man came in to rob our business. Of course, we didn't know he was going to rob it to start out with, but basically I ended up on the floor along with my wife and another employee, and the last thing that I remember, we were laying down on the floor, we'd cooperated, and the last thing that I remembered was him saying, "I don't want any trouble out of you all." I said, "No sir, you won't." He said that a second time, and that's when he shot me in the head. I didn't remember anything after that until about 4 days. They caught the man that did it, and my wife and a friend came in to very excited that they caught him, but by that time I realized that there was a third, my other employee that was there, and he didn't survive, so they kind of had to sedate me. I didn't take it well.
It was 2015, November 7th. To this point I remember everything. There wasn't enough people, there wasn't enough room. Driver is here, and then you have a little bench for people to sit. And there was a windshield right here, and then there was just an opening kind of ledge, bench, I guess you could say. And I sat on it facing the opposite direction, facing the engine. So we're driving this way, and we came out of the cove going full throttle, no wake. And we T-boned the other boat, but before that I saw the boat from the corner of my eye. So I looked for something to grab onto, and there was nothing to grab onto, and I was right in front of the windshield. So I just tensed up and I flew forward, and I hit the windshield with my head right here. I've got gashes, schematic throughout all of that. And at that, instant knockout, thankfully.
My name is Dr. Terry Price. My area of specialization has been in neuropsychology. I have a PhD from the University of Kansas in counseling psychology. My field of study has been in neuropsychology and rehabilitation psychology. I have been employed with Ability KC for 32 years, and I've been associated with the Brain Injury Association of Kansas and Greater Kansas City for a large number of those years.
My name is Dr. Alexandra Eriks, and I'm a physiatrist practicing primarily in brain injury medicine. I did my residency training at Ohio State and my fellowship training in brain injury medicine at New York University.
I'm Dr. Brad Steinley. I am a board-certified physiatrist, and I practice at St. Luke's Hospital and St. Luke's Health System, as well as at Ability KC, which is formerly the Rehabilitation Institute of Kansas City.
When I was choosing my subspecialty within physical medicine and rehabilitation, I was always really drawn to patients that had sustained a brain injury. They were the patients that made me think the most, challenged me the most, and really the ones that I wanted to come to work and see every day.
My field of study is physical medicine and rehabilitation. I take care of patients who have impairment and disability, primarily stroke, but also traumatic brain injury, spinal cord injury, brain tumor, and other conditions that can lead to serious impairment and disability.
One of the significant pillars of the mission of the Brain Injury Association of Kansas is to help educate folks on prevention, but that starts with an understanding of what are the primary causes of brain injury. So through many years, the CDC has been doing surveillance on what are the primary causes of brain injury, and that includes falls, that includes injuries from bicycle crashes, motor vehicle crashes, shaken baby syndrome. So we bring that information to the community to help them to understand what are the causes, and subsequently what we can do to prevent brain injury. That includes signing on to seatbelt laws, airbags, helmets for riding bicycles, motorcycles, for early advocacy in all the areas related to how we can prevent brain injury.
The Brain Injury Association is one of the first associations that I'll refer patients to so that they can understand first that they're not alone, that there's a whole group of people in the community that may have had similar experiences to them, that may have identified resources that could help them on their path. And so I think for me, the Brain Injury Association is a first connection point for patients after they leave the supports of the healthcare system to try to find and create that own system of support after they leave.
Well, it's a natural fit for us to be involved with the Brain Injury Association of Kansas as a physiatrist. Our patients have brain injuries, and the Brain Injury Association is a wonderful resource for our patients, and it has been for the 20+ years that I've practiced medicine in the Kansas City area. They offer clinical support for these patients. They help them find resources that they normally would not be able to find in our metropolitan area. They're a valuable resource for our community, which is fantastic because we have patients that are living in our community with traumatic brain injury.
The Brain Injury Association, no doubt about it. The people, the staff, all of that they advocate is what can help any person that's had a brain injury, and patience is the other big thing that I always try to encourage, because you do become impatient, remembering how you used to think and how you used to do everything real fast.
It provided me with an association that I could, they understood what I was going through, and I could participate in activities that associated with other people who've had this kind of a challenge, and so it gave me an opportunity to participate with a group that I understood, and they understood me. I believe it would be my wife. Because she's been in occupational med, she knew to take care of my diet, and I was traveling 100%, so she made sure I got plenty of sleep on the weekends, good food. She monitors me every day, makes sure I'm taking all my meds, and she's been a wonder. She's been a wonder for me.
Carl Van Winkle, which he was in a car crash 11 years ago. His mom reached out to my mom, but he's kind of taken me and he's been my mentor through this and helped me out through thick and thin. James McGinnis.
Love you guys.
If I had to say one person, and that's hard to do because there's been so many people, but the Amy Thompson, even though she's not with us anymore, but her characteristics was very much, in my opinion, typical of what all brain injured people need to have to continue the fight against brain injury. They need to have the fortitude, the attitude, and to keep going, and the patience and listening to all the help. But it was her character that I've really appreciated.
Hi, I'm Mary Thompson O'Connor, part of the Thompson family that has been involved with Country Club Bank, and I came to know the Brain Injury Association of Kansas City through the injuries of our sisters Amy Thompson and Tricia Thompson.
And I'm Mark. I'm Mary's younger brother.
Handsomer.
She's number 1 of 11. I'm number 4 of 11. First girl, second boy. Obviously, Tricia, who was number 7, and 8. She was number 8 in the family, and Amy, who was number 6, right in the middle, third girl out of 5 girls. Both of them were brain injured in separate incidents.
Amy was attending a party at a friend's house near the plaza right after, well, actually on Halloween, And it was relatively early in the evening. They were leaving the party at about 9:30, and as she and a friend of hers were approaching the car and waiting for two other friends, they got in the car. Amy was the driver, and her two other friends who were approaching the car, as they got closer, two persons shoved in on top of them in the back seat, and with the intent of robbing the girls and or the car. And in the process of that, one of them reached up behind Amy, who was driver, and shot her point blank in the back of her head and also in the side of her face. So that began a very long road for all of us. And then Tricia was injured 2 years later when the car she was in was hit by a drunk driver.
It hasn't affected much at all. My recovery is basically, I went to the neurosurgeon. He said I'm basically 95% back. The best thing I can say is I have a good friend who's also in this career field who reiterated that I was never 100% anyway, so 95% back for me is pretty good.
Because I didn't realize this until my accident. I always brush my teeth with my left hand. I'm right-handed, but I always did it with my left hand until I couldn't. So then it felt really weird. So I had to almost relearn how to brush my teeth again, showering with one hand. There's a lot of things that you take for granted that once that's been altered, not taken away, but altered, and you have to take a different route, you have to go a different maze or a different road. It makes you really think about things and be real fortunate for what you have and what you had before, and really shows you what's important in life.
My daily life has been affected from, just really every aspect of my life. I have 5 children. My kids were ages 6 to 16 when my brain injury happened, and it impacted all my kids a lot, and my husband dramatically, to the point to where we ended up writing a book about it, just because everyone was so affected differently. Some of my kids were angry at God, and some of my kids were thankful that my life was spared, because I was not supposed to survive. So I live with it and think about it daily as I go through my day.
About 20 years ago, my daughter and her 3 children were in a car accident in western Kansas. And my daughter sustained a concussion, but my granddaughter sustained a more significant traumatic brain injury. And while my daughter was in the hospital being cared for and her husband was caring for the other 2 young children, I had the privilege of being with my granddaughter in the ICU for the first 10 days. And it certainly was a personal experience for me to be with her, and one that I cherish in terms of her recovery. I have always appreciated the journey that others have shared with me, and I can tell you that I have a different understanding being a grandmother of a brain injury survivor. And my granddaughter is doing great. She's a real joy.
When you look back and think, what could I have done better? What could we have?
Nothing.
Well, certainly.
Except for me, well.
We had each other.
Yeah.
And so we talked a lot. We were a support system to each other. I look back now and I realize we were all sick in the same way. So that we were supported by each other to really avail yourself of those who have walked this walk, and look for resources that help you as caregivers too, to really address the loss and some of the pain that in the moment, when you have someone who's head injured, they have not died. So the ability to grieve is different.
And the brain injury, I think one thing,
yes,
as opposed to a lot of various illnesses or situations, a brain injury, I think a lot of military find this, that are injured on the field. Mm-hmm. It is something that affects the whole body. Even though maybe just their head was hit, the whole body is affected, everything about it. Yeah. So, part of it, and the friends that came forth for us, and family members that gave us great support, the community of Kansas City, the metro area, from across the country, people that were there for us. It was so appreciated and needed, and we think of it today, even still, those people that were there for us, you can't forget that. It was amazing.
Well, I think with neurologic conditions that cause injury to the brain, patients need to have hope, and they need to focus on what they can do today, and then when tomorrow comes, they focus on what they can do tomorrow, and just put one foot in front of the other. And there is reasons for hope. People are doing research all the time, and that unfortunately, I'm coming to the end of my career, but I think in the next 50 years, we're going to see remarkable things happen. I think we've seen with James' story with the stem cell treatment that he's made more improvement in this 8th year than he did in the first 7. And so that's still at its infancy. And so that's bringing these technologies, I think, should give people hope.
Not gonna sugarcoat it for you, it's gonna suck. It is. But you can do it the way I looked at it, which was, I'm 11, and I'm doing the hardest thing I'll ever have to do in my life at 11. So from here on out, it's easy coasting, you know? People will say stuff. You will get, I wouldn't necessarily say made fun of, but yeah, you probably will. And you can either fight or just swallow it with pride, which is what I've come to learn, just to not really care, you can say whatever you wanted about me, and I make a joke off of it. So that's the best advice I can give, and just to not give up. And know that, science is constantly evolving. So where you are now versus where you could be in 10 years is a big difference.
I send my congratulations for 40 great years of the Brain Injury Association of Kansas and Greater Kansas City, and I'm sure there's going to be a stellar future to come.
Just want to say congratulations to the Brain Injury Association of Kansas and Greater Kansas City on 40 years.
Congratulations to the Brain Injury Association of Kansas and Greater Kansas City on your 40th year of serving our community. I look forward to seeing what you can do in the future because you've done fantastic work these past 40 years.